You know what really grinds my gears? Watching a woman who spent years gargling fascist balls suddenly discover her spine exists, not because of principles, but because the dictator she tongued finally told her to fuck off. The air in that CBS studio must have tasted like pennies and stale rage. Marjorie Taylor Greene sat across from Leslie Stahl, finally saying the quiet part loud about Donald Caligulump and the Republican Party's collective cowardice. This is what happens when a MAGA true believer gets excommunicated. They come back swinging with receipts. God damn, does Green have receipts? The most dangerous man is the one who has nothing left to lose. Jean-Paul Sartre. But what happens when that dangerous person is a woman who built her entire political identity on devotion to a narcissistic shit goblin, only to watch him throw her to the wolves the moment she dared prioritize rape victims over his fragile ego? You get a 60 Minutes interview that pulls back the fucking curtain. The terror that keeps Republicans in line. Let me paint you a picture of Capitol Hill as Green describes it. A building full of grown-ass adults who mock Trumpty-mouth anus behind closed doors, laughing at his rambling speeches, sneering at his cognitive decline. These same dickwads suddenly sprouted red hats like mushrooms after a rainstorm, the second the Donald of Dumpster clinched the 2024 primary. Green told Stahl it would shock people to hear what her colleagues actually say about Donald prolapsed asshole when cameras are off. The entire Republican caucus is a fucking performance. Every single one knows he's a demented authoritarian cum-stain, but they've calculated their careers matter more than their country. The mechanism is brutally simple. Republicans aren't loyal to Donald Schittsburger because they believe in him. They're terrified. I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them, Green revealed. They watched what happened to her, the death threats, the traitor label, and decided silence was safer. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing, often attributed to Edmund Burke. Except these aren't good men. They're cowards watching a colleague's son receive death threats and thinking, thank fuck that's not me. They privately text agreement while publicly calling you a traitor. Green saw colleagues pivot from mockery to kissing his ass overnight. The receipts. GOP members who called Trump's speech embarrassing now defend every rambling word. Colleagues who sneered at Green's devotion now wear MAGA merchandise. Republicans who privately acknowledge Trump's authoritarian tendencies publicly enable every anti-democratic impulse. This is institutional capture through fear. Every one of them chose career survival over democratic principles. When traitor becomes a death sentence. Here's where my stomach turns itself inside fucking out. Donnie Turdchomper calls Green Marjorie Traitor Green on Truth Social, and her son receives death threats. Not vague harassment, specific credible threats to murder her child. The subject line on multiple death threats? His exact words. Let that sink in. The president weaponized his cult following against a congresswoman's family because she signed a fucking discharge petition to release Jeffrey Epstein's files documenting systematic rape of children as young as 14. Green did what any decent human would do. She called Donaldo fart-fisted and Vice President J.D. Vance to report her son was being threatened directly because of the president's inflammatory words. Vance said they'd look into it. Professional. But Donald's shriveled empty nutsack, his response was extremely unkind. She won't elaborate on the specifics. She won't tell us exactly what this shit stain said to a mother reporting death threats against her child. But we can fucking imagine. One cannot weep for the entire world. It is beyond human strength. One must choose. Jean Anouilh. Green chose the rape victims. She chose 14-year-old girls who stood trembling before press cameras, their bodies shaking as they told their stories for the first time. She told Trumpington to shitty gobhole. These women were raped at 14. They were raped at 16. They deserve to be heard. And he responded by putting a target on her son's back. There was a pipe bomb threat to her home, multiple direct threats. All after Donnie Dingleberry labeled her a traitor. The same man who brought the al-Qaeda leader turned Syrian president into the White House. The same president who welcomed Saudi Crown Prince MBS. The man who murdered American journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The same fuckwit who hosted New York's newly elected Democratic Socialist mayor during the same time span, he was calling Green a traitor. Let the irony burn like acid. Donald Poop Trump calls a congresswoman a traitor for advocating for child rape victims, while literally welcoming actual enemies of America into the Oval Office. The Epstein files that broke the cult, the specific betrayal that deserves an autopsy. Green signed the discharge petition for the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Trump called her. He was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files, she told Stahl. He said releasing the files was going to hurt people. Except, and I cannot stress this clusterfuck enough, the people who were hurt are the children who were trafficked and raped. The women standing before cameras, trembling, finally telling their stories. Those are the people who were hurt. The evidence is fuck all clear. Epstein's victims are demanding full transparency. Green supported the women who were raped as children. Donald Bukaka victim prioritized protecting unnamed people over justice for rape victims. Trump's anger at Green signing the petition was extreme enough to fracture their entire political relationship. The hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in times of great moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. Dante Alighieri. This isn't neutral. This is active obstruction of accountability for child sex trafficking. Green told Trump to bring these women into the White House, to let them be heard. He refused. He got furious. And when she wouldn't back down, he destroyed her politically. The pattern is brutally clear. Donald Cum Swallower values protecting whoever is implicated in those files more than he values justice for children who were systematically raped. And anyone who prioritizes those children over his preferences becomes an enemy. What we've chosen to normalize. The synthesis is fuck all clear. We have a political party where adults stay silent about blatant authoritarian abuses because they're terrified of mean tweets and online harassment. We have a president who deliberately weaponizes followers to threaten dissenters' families. We have a broken system where standing up for child rape victims makes you a political pariah. Not partisan disagreement, not policy differences. This is active complicity in protecting a president who values secrecy around child sex trafficking more than justice for victims. Green calls herself America First now, rejecting the MAGA label. MAGA is President Trump's phrase. That's his political policies. I call myself America First, she said. The distinction matters. MAGA has become synonymous with cult worship of one man. America First, at least in theory, centers the actual needs of American citizens. We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Elie Wiesel. These same shitheads who claim to be terrified of democratic authoritarianism are the ones enabling actual authoritarian behavior, using presidential platforms to incite threats against political opponents' families, obstructing transparency around child sex trafficking investigations, creating a culture of fear that silences dissent within their own party. Final questions that demand answers. Green has zero desire to run for president, Senate, or governor. She insists she's done with electoral politics. Maybe she's lying. But right now, she's telling a truth most Republicans are too chicken shit to acknowledge. The party is captured by fear, and Donald Dumpstump is the architect. Tomorrow, Farty Donaldo will tweet some new outrage. Republicans will line up to defend him. MAGA cultists will call Green a rhino traitor. The cycle continues. But that's not how it has to be. That's just how it is when an entire political party chooses cowardice over courage, when careers matter more than children, when staying silent is safer than speaking truth. The question isn't whether Green is a hypocrite for suddenly finding her spine after enabling every Trump atrocity. She is. The question is, what does it say about the Republican Party that even their most devoted cultists can't stomach what they've become? What does it say that standing with rape victims makes you unemployable in GOP politics? What does it say that a party claiming to protect children will destroy anyone who actually tries? Green sat in that CBS studio and told America what we already knew but refused to acknowledge. The Republican Party isn't a political organization anymore. It's a protection racket for one man's ego, enforced through fear and maintained through collective moral cowardice. And every single one of them knows it.